He says bestsellers like The Way of the Muslim are often quoted in place of the Quran and contain dangerous ideas.
Which means the blood money or the compensation for killing of the disbeliever is half of the blood money of the Muslim man. When you devalue the life of non-Muslims, that is the root cause of the problem. Terrorism is the last step.
Now, this is just hilarious. Radical Muslims are quoting books in place of the Quran, and they're using these modern books to justify killing. What's the real source of terrorism? Devaluing the lives of non-Muslims by saying that the blood money for killing a non-Muslim is half as much as the blood money for killing a Muslim. How did these modern Muslim authors ever come up with such a horrible teaching? They got it from Muhammad, Sunan Abu Dawud 45:27. The value of the blood wit in the time of the Apostle of Allah was 800 dinars, or 8,000 dirhams, and the blood wit for the people of the book was half that for Muslims. Are you catching this? According to ABC News, the real source of jihad and terrorism isn't Muhammad's teachings. No, the violence springs from modern books by modern Muslim authors who, as you just saw, are getting their views directly from Muhammad's teachings.
And radicals have used these murder and martyr myths.
Murder and martyr myths. All this talk about jihad and fighting unbelievers and martyrdom, it's all based on myths. Guess that's why Muhammad said in Sahih al-Bukhari 2797, "By him in whose hands my soul is, I would love to be martyred in Allah's cause and then come back to life and then get martyred and then come back to life again and then get martyred and then come back to life again and then get martyred." Just myths.
Dictators combine that resentment with a perverted version of Islam and manipulate their people with a holy hatred of America.
Dictators use a perverted version of Islam to incite hatred against America. Let me break this down for you because a drugged monkey could figure this one out. Listen to the Quran. This is Surah 5, verse 33. "The punishment of those who wage war against Allah and His Apostle and strive to make mischief in the land is only this, that they should be murdered or crucified, or their hands and their feet should be cut off on opposite sides, or they should be imprisoned." Here we have various penalties for making mischief in a Muslim land, depending on the severity of the offense. The worst form of mischief making is bringing a non-Muslim military into a Muslim country. Has the United States done that? Yes. What's the penalty according to the Quran? Death. Do Muslim leaders need to pervert Islam in order to fuel hatred against America? No. They just need the Quran.
A fatwa is nothing more than just one cleric's opinion. You could issue a fatwa that Coke is evil and you should drink Pepsi. Fatwas are a dime a dozen. They are meaningless.
Fatwas are meaningless? No more than opinions? Fatwas are rulings by Muslim scholars based on Muhammad's teachings. They don't carry any additional weight beyond the quotations from Muhammad and the Quran, but they're definitely not meaningless. They contain the commands of Allah and Muhammad.
Does the Quran teach the practice of al-taqiyya, lying to non-Muslims to advance and protect Islam?
According to the experts, an obscure law called al-taqiyya did allow early Muslims to deny their faith, but only under the threat of persecution.
Recall the woman's question. Does the Quran teach the practice of taqiyya, deceiving non-Muslims? Unlike ABC News, I'll actually quote the Quran for you. Surah 3:28. "Let not the believers take disbelievers for their friends in preference to believers. Whoso doeth that hath no connection with Allah, unless it be that ye but guard yourselves against them, taking as it were security." According to this verse, which uses a form of the word taqiyya, meaning concealment, in order to guard yourself, Muslims are not allowed to be friends with non-Muslims unless they're outnumbered and they feel like they're in danger from a stronger adversary. That's when Muslims are allowed to pretend to be friendly. One of Islam's greatest scholars, Ibn Kathir, comments, in this case, such believers are allowed to show friendship outwardly, but never inwardly. Abu Darda, one of Muhammad's companions, put it this way, we smile in the face of some people, although our hearts curse them. As for ABC's claim that taqiyya is just an obscure law for early Muslims, Muhammad's companion Al-Hasan said, taqiyya is allowed until the day of resurrection. So Muslims have a choice. They can either go with the Quran and Muhammad's companions and Islam's greatest scholars and deceive us by smiling in our faces while cursing us in their hearts, or they can go with ABC's Bill Weir, who, although he knows next to nothing about Islam, does do a remarkable impression of Putty from Seinfeld.
Is Islam inherently violent?
Yeah, that's right.
Does Islam oppress women?
Yeah, that's right.
Does it advocate barbaric punishments?
Yeah,
That's right.
Savage.
A chimp's all right. High five.
The Quran is very, very clear that in the eyes of God, men and women have equal rights and equal responsibilities.
Surah 4:3 says that men can marry up to 4 women. Do women get to marry up to 4 men? No. Surah 4:24 says that Muslim men can have sex with their female captives and slave girls. Do women get to have sex with their male captives and slave boys? No. Surah 4:34 says that men can beat their wives into submission. Do women get to beat their husbands into submission? No. So, do men and women have equal rights and responsibilities in the Quran? No. Men and women are about as equal as hammers and nails in the Quran.
The Prophet Muhammad's own beloved first wife, Khadija, was a wealthy, self-made entrepreneur.
Now, Irsad Manji is correct when she says that Khadija was a wealthy entrepreneur. So that's not an error. The error is that Irsad uses this as proof that men and women are equal in Islam. And here she's just being silly with her timeline. Khadija was a wealthy entrepreneur before Islam, before she married Muhammad, before Muhammad received his first revelation. So what does her status as a businesswoman tell us about Islam? Absolutely nothing. If we want to learn something about women in Islam, let's listen to someone with a little more experience of life with Muhammad. In Sahih al-Bukhari, 58:25, Muhammad's child bride Aisha says, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. According to Aisha, the mother of the faithful, the believing women, the Muslim women, were suffering more than the pagan women. And by the way, the context of this quotation is that a Muslim man had beaten his wife until her skin turned green. Aisha was complaining about Muslim women being brutally beaten by their Muslim husbands. She realized that non-Muslim women were much safer because their husbands didn't have a revelation from God advocating spousal abuse. But this doesn't matter at all to ABC because Muhammad, 15 years before he declared himself to be a prophet, married a rich old widow. Guess that settles things.
And reminding us that all the peaceful American Muslims are part of America's first line of defense.
Yes, moderate, peaceful Muslims are our first line of defense against those pesky extremists. Muslims are violently subjugating Christians and other religious minorities in Egypt, Iraq, Pakistan, Sudan, Nigeria, and everywhere else Muslims have power over unbelievers. Are all the peaceful, moderate Muslims stepping in to protect these non-Muslims? Are the peaceful, moderate Muslims the first line of defense for victims of Muslim aggression? Certainly not. But Diane Sawyer and ABC News are convinced that things will be different here in the U.S., where moderate groups like CARE constantly tell Muslims not to work with police or the FBI in locating and apprehending terrorists. By the way, there was a bonus blunder in the clip we just saw. Notice that ABC showed us a picture of Sadiq Abdul Malik, who, according to Diane Sawyer, is one of the moderate Muslims always prepared to protect us from extremists. Sadiq supports Revolution Muslim and the Taliban. He defended Nidal Malik Hassan after the Fort Hood massacre, and he calls for the destruction of Israel. But hey, I'm sure he's quite ready to save us from all the radicals he supports.
It's my duty as an American Muslim to stand between you, the American non-Muslim, and the radicals who are trying to attack you.
It's a Muslim's duty to stand between us and the radicals who are trying to carry out Muhammad's commands in the Quran and the Hadith. I'll tell you what, Imam Rauf, you show me that anywhere in the Quran or authentic Hadith, and I will personally help you build a mosque at ground zero. But you won't show me, because you know this isn't what Islam teaches at all. In areas where Muslims make up a majority, the duty of Muslims is to violently subjugate all non-Muslims. In areas like the United States, where Muslims are in the minority, the duty of Muslims is to practice taqiyya, deceiving non-Muslims into believing that Islam is peaceful and tolerant. But you know this, Imam Rauf, because that's what you do for a living. And the lovely folks over at ABC News are all too happy to serve as your megaphone.
I would dance and be merry, life would be a ding-a-dairy if I only had a brain.
Well, that's 20 errors in an hour-long news program, and I could have pointed out more. Isn't it sad that if you want accurate information about Islam, you have to get it from the internet, because the major networks and their research departments with their endless trunks of money just can't seem to get anything right when they talk about Islam? If this were any other topic, and ABC News made this many mistakes, they'd lose all credibility. But since the topic is Islam, it's perfectly acceptable to broadcast total nonsense in an effort to make Islam sound better than it really is. ABC News, like so many other networks, is a taqiyya amplifier. Muslims come up with soothing lies, ABC pumps them into your living room. If you're as fed up as I am, I invite you to send this video to as many people as possible. We need to start holding networks accountable for misleading and deceiving their viewers, and we can do this by drawing attention to errors and correcting them. I guess the only question now is, who's next? Oh yeah, we decided to go alphabetically. So what comes after ABC? BBC. Stay tuned.